Okay, we're talking about my favorite team, the Detroit Red Wings. Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. My cast joining me right here. So Oliver, say hi, buddy. um, anyways, so we're talking about the Red Wings today. My favorite team. This video might be a little bit longer because I know so much about the Red Wings, but I'm also not trying to go crazy. I'm trying to keep it under 15 minutes. So we're gonna go over some of the losses, the acquisitions, and honestly, this team's did the most moves in my opinion of all the teams. I think they signed like 10 guys or something crazy like that. So I want to go over a couple of the things that they've done, a couple of key pieces that they lost, and look what they're looking to do. Hi, buddy. How you doing? All right, let's jump over. So, other cap friendly page. They got plenty of cap space, by the way. After making a huge trade this season with Alex DeBrincat, still at $5 million, a lot to play with, so they could bring someone on. I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to save money for the Raymond and the Sider contracts that will be coming up next year. So I don't think they're trying to commit anyone. If they're going to be signing anyone, it'll be a 1 year deal. But and really, I don't think that's really the case. I actually don't think. I think the Red Wings are actually going to finish similar to last year, seventh in the Atlantic Division. I think they're definitely better than they were last year. I think they did a lot of improvements. A lot of guys they signed, not huge movers, right? Besides Alex DeBrincat, but overall, and they also don't have any rookies that are going to be really coming up, in my opinion. Edvinson's the blue line's too packed, and he just had surgery. Soderblom's, I don't think he still needs to develop a little bit. Again, I don't think he's as good as some of the NHL players that they have on the team. And Casper, I don't think he's going to make it. I think he needs time in the AHL on the North American ice, and same with Danielson as well. But again, if you're not a Red Wings fan, you might not know those names yet, just because I am a Red Wings fan, so I've been following a lot of the prospects and everything. So, but the nice thing about what the Red Wings do have is they sign a lot of guys, and they have a lot of UFAs, or a couple of UFAs that they can move, and they sign. So, like Daniel Sprong, they picked up for a $2 million deal. Probably flipping him at the deadline. Christian Fisher, same thing. David Perron, if he wants to move, he can. He's got a 10-team no trade list, so I mean they could definitely retain salary on that. I think he'd be a huge asset for a playoff team. They saw them move Philip Hronik this past trade deadline. Tyler Bertuzzi as well. I mean, Shane Gosper, he's definitely going to be gone. He's definitely going to be looking to get a long-term contract, and he's a playoff performer. So I think that this is a team that needs to. They're essentially just making that transition where they're that fringe playoff team, but I don't think they're really ready to commit to that full-blown playoff. So, and I just don't know if they're good enough. I'd say, and health is a huge thing, right? But I think, in my opinion, Ottawa Senators is actually a better team. Star wise, but not depth wise. I think the Red Wings have better depth, but the Senators have a better star qualities, right? With Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Norris, Shabbat. I mean, the list goes on. Chychrun, who they just traded for as well. But again, I can talk a ton about the Red Wings. We can go, but let's go over the full view of some of the things that they actually did this past year. Moving off, so trade history. Moving off again, Philip Hronik. Pick up that first round pick and then picking Axel Sandy Pellica with that. Again, moving out Bertuzzi, huge. I'm getting a first round pick for that. Moving out Jakub Vrana. Get a new opportunity. He played mostly in the AHL and was also in the player assistance program. They moved out Oscar Sundqvist, Steven Kampfer. Let's see. I mean, it's a move down. They picked up Kyle Yamamoto and Klim Kostin. I think the goal was just to sign Klim Kostin. Who they ended up signing for like 2 years at like 2.1, I believe, million. And they were going to keep Kyle Yamamoto, but they couldn't find a spot for him. So they ended up buying out his deal. He ended up signing with Seattle. And we talk about DeBrincat, the massive trade. After that, so DeBrincat was a huge signing. They signed him to a 4-year deal. I think it's 7.85, I believe. Moving out Kubalik, who was a goal scorer. Usually can get around 20 goals at that first round pick. Now this conditional is going to be either Boston's first round pick or Detroit, so they get the option there. And then also picking up Jeff Petrie at like 65% retained or something like that, because Pittsburgh owns part of Jeff Petrie's contract, and then so does the Canadiens. So getting Jeff Petrie at 2.3 is huge. I think it's a steal in my opinion, especially just doing an upgrade, because Gustav Lindstrom was automatically your seventh defenseman with the quality. He's a fringe NHLer on a Detroit Red Wings team. And now instead of having six guys, six NHLers and Gustav Lindstrom, they now have seven NHL defensemen. And Gustav Lindstrom gets an opportunity with the Canadians, who are still rebuilding, to be able to actually show what he's got and really prove himself and get a big deal and be able to stay in the NHL. So I think that was good. I like that. I like it a lot. I'm very impressed with it. So, again, going over some of the transactions that they had this past year. Jumping over here. Again, here's the trade with Kyle Yamamoto. They let Helberg go. They let Luff go. Pissick, who didn't play. Alex Chason, who actually has a deal with Boston, or a PTO with Boston, I believe. They signed Alex Lyon, Daniel Sprong. I liked Alex Lyon. I thought he did well in the playoffs with the Panthers, letting Nedeljkovic go. He signed with the Pittsburgh, same with Magnus Hellberg. Signing JT Compher to a 5-year deal. Very expensive. 5.1 is a little expensive in my opinion for a guy like JT Compher. He does fill that power play role, so now you have a second line center who can play power play, and then you have and then you have Kopp, who can play the penalty kill. So I do like that in that sense, where they're a little more specialty. I just think you spend a lot of money on a guy like Kopp and a guy like Comfer. A little too expensive for my taste, and also you're now crowding up that middle with Casper going to be coming up in the next year or two. Same with Danielson as well. I mean, you can always move these guys to the wing, or you can also start them off the prospects on the wing. But I think Conference was a big commitment. I don't know if I don't mind it. I just think the Red Wings system is so full now. It's not allowing prospects to come up and fill those roles. Unless the 2021 you had Moritz Seider come in. 2021 and 2022 you have Moritz Seider and Raymond break out those rookies, right? And so we want to see that like you want to slowly try and bring rookies in, and I just don't know if there's a lot of space, especially on the D core having 7 defensemen. Again, you have a ton of forwards now as well, so it's a little packed, and so that's where I'm a little confused on that. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, again, a lot of these are movable. That's the cool thing about what Detroit has done and what Eisenman has done. A lot of these contracts are movable. Like we talked about, Gossespierre. You're gonna move out Sprong, I imagine, unless he earns a deal, right? You only sign Klim Kostin into a 2-year deal, right? And maybe that's appealing because a guy they're looking for a little more toughness for the playoffs. That a team could pick him up, and then they have him for the playoffs and the next year as well. So there is some ability to bring on these guys. Joe Veleno just signed a 1-year contract, right? So maybe they want to flip him, or someone wants to pick him up, right? So Justin Hall. I mean, if you're aware of Justin Hall, it was an issue for Toronto. I don't think he's as bad as Toronto played him out to be, but I don't think he's worth the 3-year contract at $3 million. I think it was 3.4 million. I think it's a little expensive. But that does solve your right-handed defenseman, because now you have Seider, you have Petrie, and you have Hall, which I do like. And then you have Wallman going to be playing with Seider. Mata can kind of fill in, as well as Sherratt. I think Sherratt's a little expensive as well. Again, to me, I don't know why you're bringing these contracts long term. I think you could have kept in Mata for a little longer. I mean, you have Mata for 2 years, right? You have Petrie for 2 years. You already have Sherratt. I didn't think Justin Hall was a little excessive. You could have played Sherratt on the right side. But again, that does give you a little bit more flexibility having Hall as well. But I don't know if I don't know if I like it. I'm not a big fan of it, but it is what it is. Again, so the way I see it with Sherratt and Hall as well, right? Let's say Wallinder and Edvinsson and Johansson, they are all like, wow, these guys are way better than these NHL players we have. These contracts are movable. They're not so expensive. Like 3.4 seems like a lot, but it's not a ton. You can move that out with a pick. He is a usable player. He's not 30 plus 5+ years old or something like that. He's still a usable player. So you can move these out maybe with like a pick or something like that, or maybe a prospect. And Red Wings are flush with prospects now, but now you're doing that transition where you're trying to build more of a winning culture. And so that's kind of where I see why you bring the JT Conference in, why you bring Justin Hall in, why you're bringing in Petrie. Of course, you're bringing Brinkat for the star power. But it's a transitional period of, hey, let's bring this. We're trying to pull you guys out of the bottom and start bringing you into a winning culture. So Anyways, moving on. Pius Suter signed with Vancouver. I was jealous. I actually wish they would have kept Pius Suter. I don't know where he would fit at this point, but I really liked him as a player. And then Jasper Weatherby, I liked him on I wish they would have kept him as well in the AHL, but I liked him with San Jose. Again, signing Shane Gostisbehere, great deal. If you think it's high, it's not a big deal because you're going to be flipping him at the deadline anyways. James Reimer, I liked Reimer when he was on San Jose. I think he had a down year. I think it was his first year under 900. But there's controversy around him with the not wearing the pride flag, but that is a personal. We're talking about players today. Whatever your opinions are on that, I applaud you. I have my own opinions, but we're focusing more on the play and what their role is on the team. Again, moved off of Gustav Nyquist or Gustav Lindstrom. They signed him and then moved him. Christian Fischer. The Zadina one was really tough. Eisman said he tried to move to Zadina, but no one was willing to take him on. So they ended up having a mutual termination of the contract, which is a bummer. I think Eisman did believe in Zadina. They said, hey, man, you got like $4 million to like take on this contract. You're willing to terminate this? He's like, yeah, I want to terminate it and go somewhere else and where I can get some play time. And I agree. Based on Zadina's play, he wasn't going to get the play time. I think he did need to go to a rebuilding team where he had a little more opportunity. So I think this is smart on both parties. But again, I'm not one of those people that's bitter about losing Zadina. I'm more bummed, and I'm like, I wish him the best, man. And I'm a Sharks fan, so as well. So that's not a big deal. By the way, I'm not wearing my Red Wings jersey, and I should be wearing my Red Wings jersey for this. So. Bringing out DeBrincat, huge. We just talked about that as well. Petrie, and again, re-signing Veleno. So I like those a lot. Moving on to the lines real quick. So Raymond, Larkin, DeBrincat, phenomenal. This is the type of star power you're looking for on that top line with DeBrincat. And Raymond really needs to have a breakout year this year. So I'm really hoping that he can pop off for 60 points. Larkin, I think he can be a point per game. I think he hit 90 points. And DeBrincat, I really hope he hits at least 30 goals, ideally 35. I think that would be much better. So Jonathan Bergen really moving up in his position in the Red Wings. This is a great prospect who had his first not full year, but had played I think like 50 games last year with the Red Wings. I think this is going to be huge for him to move into this role. Perron and Comfer, a great second line. Now, mind you, if Bergen doesn't work out on this up here on the second line or is struggling a little bit, you can also move Andrew Kopp over here. Your center depth, you can have Veleno, you can have Rasmussen go to third line, Veleno being fourth line. So there's a little bit of movement you can have here. I like that. Fabry and Sprong, a little more scoring dynamic. This is actually where I might swap these. I don't really know. I'm not familiar enough with GT Conference games much. I know he had to play up higher in the lineup with the Avalanche because of the injuries. But I'm okay with either Copp. I think maybe Copp is the third line, a little more defensive. But I think he'll be a better setup. I don't know. I kind of like JT Confer with that intensity, and Copp can be a little more rough and grind. So protect Berggren as well. So Rasmussen, we saw him flourish on the wing. So him playing center, I know he's capable. I know we saw him flourish on the wing. So I wouldn't mind putting Veleno up here and then leaving because Klim Kostin and Christian Fischer are a little more. They're newer to the team. I see Christian Fischer or Klim Kostin being the swap outs. We want to see the development of Rasmussen, so I think either play him on the wing or center. That's fine, but I just don't think he's going to be your 13th guy. I just see Christian Fischer being that where you swap him in for certain games and everything, giving Perron days off if he needs to. Fabry, he's been injured so much. It's you're going to see injuries, so hopefully you don't. But I imagine Robbie Fabry has that tendency of being injured, so unfortunately. So we'll see how this thing matches up. I don't mind this. A couple things that I would do. Going to their depth charts to show a couple of people. I mean, some great teams with Larkin, almost a point per game right here. Perron played well. I mean, DeBrincat had an okay year. 27 goals is a down year for him. We'd like to see, again, a minimum 30, ideally 35. Raymond, 45 points, but again, I think he has capability of being 60, 65 points this year. Fabry didn't play a ton, but he can produce. I don't see him being on the second line. They don't even have Bird. Dude, Cat Frylin's got to get on this. Jonathan Berggren, he's not going to be scratched. And Soderblom will play in the with the AHL. Yeah, no, get these out of here. Get these out of here. No. Yeah, I disagree with that. So Fabry, again, like I said, be moved down. Rasmussen's playing wing. That makes sense as well. I mean, I guess similar to what we were saying, I would just swap in Christian Fischer and Berggren, in my opinion. I would not be scratching him. So um, going to the defense now. Jake Wallman, Moritz Seider, that pair worked out so well. We saw that Moritz Seider, when paired with Ben Sherratt, they tried to make that work. They really forced it. Did not work once they got Jake Wallman, who quickly moved up the lineup, by the way. He was playing third pair minutes, had a great chemistry. Then they moved up to the second pair, had great chemistry again. And then Jake Wallman brought out the better of every player that he played with. And then now you put him, so you say, well, he brings out the best of the players. Let's put him with the best player on the team, Moritz Seider, and Wallman did a phenomenal job with Seider, and he really started to have a better half of the season when he started playing with Seider. When Seider started playing with Wallman, I think Sherratt or Hall should be the scratched ones. I'd like to see Shane Gostisbehere and Justin Hall being together, or Olimata. I'm okay with that as well. I think Olimata's a left-handed defenseman though. Let's see, Olimata, left-handed defenseman. So you're not going to have, but Shane Gostisbehere can play both sides. So I like the idea of Seider Wallman, good with that. Jared McIsaac, he's going to play in the AHL. I like Gostisbehere and Hall together, and then Petrie and Mata. Or like I said, to me, Mata and Hall fill the same position, a bit more defensive defenseman. And if you have a guy like Shane Gostisbehere being that offensive defenseman, you're not or Hall's not going to be that forward-driven guy. Not going to be that offense-driven guy. You're going to make him play a role of defeating the defensive guy, and that's okay. That's what you want. And so I think having Mata and Gostisbehere playing together, or Hall and Gostisbehere playing together, and then Sherratt is on the third line. You can swap in Petrie again, give him time off, and you're honestly, you can scratch to me Ben Hall. Ben Hall, and Petrie, again, Petrie being that he's old. He's older. Not old, but 35, man. You know, he's not the young guy, so give him some time off to be able to recover and be able to play long term. So and then going into our goalies as well, you got your Husso, who's been playing, he'll be playing it. He'll be first line. Husso had okay year, but jumping over here to his numbers, Ville Husso, 26 and 22, and under 900. That you want to see better. Again, both these players, you want to see better results. I think that Reimer had a down year. I think Husso is now getting a better team around him, so he'll play better as well. But and then you also have Alex Lyon, who definitely could beat Reimer for the job. I actually think that if they wanted to, I think the Bummies might be smarter, depending on if it's close, right? If it's close between James Reimer and Alex Lyon, I think it might be better to waive James Reimer. I think he's more likely to make it down to the AHL, and then I think he'd be a great development coach for Letherman and Kosa. So, and then Lyon, who has played that backup role but hasn't really had that starter role, as opposed to James Reimer, who has. And mind you, Lyon's on a 2-year deal. He's on a 2-year, $900,000 deal. So why don't you just keep him up here? Well, he's gonna be around longer. So why don't we just keep him around? Because I think that Lyon might end up being the one that actually ends up getting picked up, because it's a 2-year deal. I think Lyon will be the one that picked up, and Reimer will be the one that they'll pass the waivers, no big deal. So that's my opinion. I think you should run a Husso and Lyon, but again, if Reimer makes it, cool, that's awesome as well. So we'll see. But either way, they need to be waived at the start of the season and make it quick, because there's a ton of goalies that are going to be getting waived, and so we want to get that while there's still an abundance of goalies. You want to do it sooner rather than later. So, anyways, I can see that again. I just see the Red Wings. I think the Atlantic is so stacked. I just talked about this in my last video, or one of my last videos with the Florida Panthers. I really see it being Toronto, Tampa, and Florida battling out for second and third. I do see Boston or Buffalo being that wild card spot, and I could see the Atlantic actually having 4 or 5 teams. Right, I could see the Metro being New Jersey, Carolina, Rangers, right? Maybe Pittsburgh, right? I think that wild card spot could be fought out between Pittsburgh, Buffalo Sabres, Boston. I think there's a ton there. I think the Senators are going to be stealing points away from people in the Atlantic. I think that the Red Wings are going to be stealing points away, but I can see them still. I can still see the Red Wings finishing seventh, and that's my prediction. They're going to finish seventh in the division. I think Buffalo has drafted better because they've had two first overall picks, so that'll definitely do it. I think that Senators have drafted very well as well. Again, not as deep, but again, if they can stay healthy, I think they can be better than the Red Wings. Montreal's in the eighth, and they're still in the rebuilding, which is great. Let them rebuild, you know. But to me, I just see them finishing seventh, and it is a bummer. But and I love I really enjoy the Red Wings, but I just don't see them being full off playoff. Next year is a different story if they can get some rookies to break out. We will see and see some of the moves they're going to be making. So I'm so excited for this next season. I'm so excited about all the moves that are being made. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe. Love you, and I'll catch up with you soon. Bye. Love you.